Hello friends, Coco is here and let's get started. The action takes place in September 1719 in the territories of the Great Northern Treaties. A young girl from the Comanche tribe, Neru, who has the skills of a healer, dreams of becoming a great hunter, like her brother Tabe. During the appearance of deer with the dog Sari, Neru witnesses the infiltration of a thunderbird. In the process it is a spaceship landing a predator, taking it as a sign that she is ready for herself. Tabe, leading a search party to track down a mountain lion who attacked the tribal hunters, agrees to take Nara with him. They find a wounded tribe member and head back, but Tabe decides to stay behind to find the lioness and the hunt. Count Dracula appears in the castle laboratory and reveals his plans to the doctor. Frankenstein, in horror, turns to his assistant Igor for help, but all in vain. The servant betrays his master. The doctor takes up the sword in order to protect his creation from the vampire, but he himself dies. The monster manages to get up from the bed and throws a piece of equipment at the vampire, causing Dracula to end up in the fireplace. The monster, taking the body of his deceased creator in his arms, tries to hide in a lonely mill standing nearby, and Igor draws the attention of the peasants to this by shouting, "Dr. Frankenstein." The peasants set fire to the mill, and the monster, who was at that time on the balcony of the mill itself, with the doctor's body in his arms, disappears, falling into the fiery abyss with a heartrending scream. The Count and his 3 brides appear in the guise of scary bats to the mill, and as a result the peasants flee in horror. Dracula and his 3 brides are in shock at the loss of the monster. A year later, in Paris, on behalf of the Vatican, the Knight of the Holy Order, Van Helsing, who is wanted for murder, tries to stop Mr. Hyde, the evil self of Dr. Henry Jekyll. He finds the corpse of a girl on the streets of Paris and appears at Notre Dame Cathedral. There, a duel takes place between the vigilante and Mr. Hyde, during which Van Helsing kills him. Once again Van Helsing is called a murderer, because before his death Hyde turns into Dr. Jekyll. Van Helsing soon arrives at the Vatican and meets with Cardinal Genet, who reminds him of how he was once found barely alive with memory loss near a church and accepted into the order. Then the cardinal takes him to the laboratory and introduces him to the novice, the inventor Karl. It turns out that Van Helsing's next task is the destruction of Count Dracula. 450 years ago there lived a Transylvanian knight Valery the Elder, whose son turned to evil and was killed by a certain left hand of God. After his death, the king's son made a deal with the devil and became the vampire Count Dracula. Valery swore before the church that until Dracula was killed, none of his descendants would go to heaven after death. But neither he nor his descendants managed to kill Dracula. Van Helsing must help the living descendants of Valery the Elder fulfill the agreement. At this time, Count Dracula continues to try to revive his stillborn offspring, resorting to the help of Igor. The source of vital energy must be a very strong person, and in trying to find such a person, Dracula uses a captive gypsy king named Boris Valery, a descendant of that same King Valery, and therefore a relative of Dracula in his human form. Boris's children, Prince Velkin and Princess Anna, continue the battle against Dracula. During the hunt for a local werewolf, Velkin serves as bait. The werewolf ends up in a cage, but by chance gets out and starts chasing Anna. Velkin saves his sister, but together with the werewolf falls from a cliff into a mountain river. It is subsequently revealed that Velkin was bitten by a werewolf and became Dracula's servant. Van Helsing arrives in Transylvania with the novice Karl, where in a local town he encounters the distrust of the local population, and then meets Anna herself. But suddenly Dracula's brides appear in the guise of monstrous bats and attack people. In the first fight, while Elira and Verona are trying to kill Anna, a vigilante kills Mariska using holy water from a spring. Elira and Verona sense her death and return to Dracula in horror. The vampire scolds the brides and sends Velkin in the guise of a werewolf to find out about the new guest, who in the meantime puts Anna to sleep and goes on reconnaissance. After some time at night, Anna comes to her senses and feels that someone has entered the Valerius family castle. The princess arms herself with a mace and discovers an open window. She closes the window, but sees animal tracks and then runs into her brother in human form. Velkan, taking advantage of a short cloudy eclipse of the full moon, tries to tell Anna that Dracula has an antidote, but again turns into a werewolf. Van Helsing comes running to Anna's aid and scares away the werewolf. The latter kills the gravedigger and returns to Dracula, who is clearly unhappy with his brother's attempt to contact his sister. Anna finds the vigilante in the cemetery and asks him to help her find an antidote for her brother, and then together with him enters the castle owned by Dracula, where Frankenstein's monster was previously created. Meanwhile, Dracula, with the help of Velkan, is trying to revive his children once again. At the same time, Anna unsuccessfully tries to free her brother from captivity, and Van Helsing makes attempts to destroy Dracula. However, Count Dracula recognizes his former friend and his own killer in the new enemy, a warrior who was called the Left Hand of God, but understands that Van Helsing does not remember anything. Taking advantage of the vampire's confusion over death in front of Dracula's brides of another of their brood, which, however, managed to hatch, Van Helsing and Anna escape from the castle. Dracula sends the werewolf Velkan to kill them both and secludes himself with Elira and Verona to create new offspring. At the same time, Karl, after spending the night with a townswoman whom he saved from Dracula's brood, discovers an ancient painting depicting two knights in armor with swords. Before the eyes of the astonished novice, the knights come to life and enter into battle, with one turning into a werewolf, and the other becoming a bat, a vampire. Having discovered the plan of the forces of darkness, Van Helsing tries to transport the monster to Rome, where the vampires cannot reach him, although the monster placed under the command of the novice opposes this trip. Soon, on the way, in a mountain forest, the cortege is attacked by the brides of Dracula and Velkan the werewolf. The monster fails to be captured and saves Karl from death. In the battle, Verona, the second bride of the vampire count, and Prince Velkan, who turned into a werewolf, die, while managing to bite Van Helsing. However, through the efforts of Elira, Princess Anna was captured, whom Dracula offers to exchange for the monster. When they meet, the vampire and the vigilante agree to make a deal during a masquerade ball in Budapest on Halloween night. But Van Helsing resorts to cunning, puts the monster to sleep and hides it in the cemetery, and he changes clothes with Karl and goes with him to the ball, where Dracula, in front of Elira, is already dancing with Anna and trying to bite her. The vigilante saves Anna, but Dracula reveals his identity to the vampires who are participating in the ball. At the same time, Igor enters the hall along with a crowd of the living dead and a captive Frankenstein monster. A crowd of vampires rushes at the trio, but they manage to escape death by jumping from the window of the building directly into the waves of the Danube, and the vampires die from a flash of light, Karl's invention. The vigilante tries to save the monster, which Igor transports to the ship, but a grate is lowered in front of the professor and the attempt fails. Van Helsing, with the help of Karl, unravels the mystery of the Ice Fortress, a prison in the mountains in which Valery the Elder imprisoned his vampire son. The fortress is hidden in the Valerius family castle behind a wall with a geographical map of Transylvania with words attached to it. However, the piece with the missing words disappeared, which doomed the Valerius family to a fruitless search for the entrance to where the ice fortress is located. However, this piece of ancient writing was discovered in the Vatican archives and fell into the hands of Van Helsing. With its help he was able to find the entrance. The trio, torches in hand, walk through the mirror into a snowy mountainous area and see the ice fortress. They infiltrate the castle and capture Igor, who is forced to reveal a serum that can be used to turn a werewolf into a human, since a werewolf can kill Dracula if he rebels. At the same time, the vigilante sees how the captive monster is lifted on a cable to the very top of the castle, and decides to split up. Van Helsing undertakes to save the monster, and Karl, to whom the professor gave a weapon against werewolves, Igor and Anna go to the place where the serum is stored. While in front of Dracula the monster is being prepared to awaken the offspring of the vampire count, and Van Helsing penetrates the laboratory, Igor takes Karl and Anna to the place where Dracula hid the serum. However, he then locks the acolyte and the princess alone with Elira, who has been given the duty of guarding the serum by Dracula. Karl and Anna, with the serum in their hands, escape to freedom. Anna stays behind to begin the fight with the vampire. At the same time, Van Helsing tries to save the monster, but this attempt is stopped by Dracula and the Count's offspring break free. At the same time, the monster saves Karl from Igor and penetrates the place where the serum was stored and where Elira is ready to drink the blood of the defeated Anna. Due to the monster's intervention, Anna breaks free and, having received the serum from Karl's hands, kills Elira with a stake. The princess rushes to the aid of the vigilante, who at the moment of the full moon turned into a werewolf and attacked Dracula. The Count either takes on human form in order to explain himself to the vigilante and win him over to his side, or fights with him, but ultimately dies at the hands of Van Helsing. Thus, Dracula's offspring ceases to exist without even having time to fly out of the walls of the fortress. However, Van Helsing remains a werewolf and attacks Anna. Karl, seeing this, is going to kill Van Helsing, but it turns out that Anna manages to inject him with the antidote. However, she herself dies. While conducting the funeral burning of Anna's body, Van Helsing sees the image of a smiling Anna and her meeting with her brother and father in heaven, literally. Frankenstein's monster, who managed to survive, floats away on a raft in an unknown direction. And Van Helsing and Karl ride back to Rome on horseback. Coco and friends were with you. Don't forget to subscribe so as not to miss other interesting films in the world of cinema.